Hello and welcome to the late Mythruna weekly live stream. This would have been on Friday night, but I had a play to go to for my child. We're going to do it on Sunday. Excuse my Pepsi cracking there. Before we get too far, let's thank the patrons. This is super important. Towards the end of the year, I start to get all the internet bills and just got a $600 plus bill from GoDaddy. So you guys definitely help make everything work. So thanks for the support. And sometimes it's just nice to know people are out there watching. Speaking of, if you happen to be on the live stream and are watching right now, go ahead and say hi in the chat. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. So let's see. Where we left off last time was I was working on the shaper tool, and we had gotten just the basic probe implemented. And so I spent the rest of that weekend fleshing out at least probe and the probe and the raise tools. See, no, it's not for me. So this colliders panel has actually got some cool stuff in it now. So we can, it remembers configurations from before. Like right now we're in the ray simulation, and so and so like the center block right now we can turn on and off. Which block are we? Maybe top? This is not working. Or it's not really looking at the one I think it is. So we can show the cell selectors. Okay, that's the one we've got selected. Hey Lando, nice you could make it. Happy Sunday, yeah. My one day off, I get to do this. But it's good. It's been good to do the live stream today because it got me motivated to work on a bunch of stuff, and I fixed some bugs and so on. I don't know why this was working before. I don't know why the mask stuff's not working. Hey Jeremy, how's it going? Anyway, so I won't spend too much time on that. Oh, I did want to talk about it, so that's too bad. But so it'll remember like selected rays I've got, and it will show me where they intersected, which I already used to find a bug in the ray intersect code, which fixed a bug in the blueprint editor. So that's good. It's always nice when your tests immediately find problems that, and this is in code that is from the original Mythruna that I wrote in 2011. Like that has just been carried over and tweaked a little. This block ray intersection, it was a bug in like the base block ray intersection code, and just kind of really subtle precision bug. So I was able to fix that because of this tool. So in my perception, so we can see different rays. This one's going through all the boxes, so you can see all the intersection points. So this is very useful. But by my estimation anyway, this tool has already paid for itself with the time spent, because I didn't spend that much time on it. It's already found issues. And so let's flip over to, and we can see the outline of the cubes that are being selected, and all that shows up even if it's obscured behind things, which is kind of cool. So let's flip over to the sphere mode. I did get this one working too, not spheres, the probe mode. So you can see, we can slide this probe around, and I did move it so that there's like a major position and minor position. So if you just need to make, small tweaks to the position. And this is what I was going to try to show you guys. I was talking about how being able to mask off these sides is important, because right now we can see this side, and that means when we intersect here, the intersection normal is like this. But if this side wasn't here, then it wouldn't be. It would be straight up and down. So if you imagine there's another block here, we don't want this angular, because this side technically doesn't exist if it was turned off. And so I'm a little disappointed that these are not working like they're supposed to. Maybe if I reset the... Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So now I can set it, and now we aren't getting any intersections at all, which is also not right. So these are some things, this is why this tool exists, because I can go in here and, yeah, so that's not, let's switch again. Okay, so let's turn off, is it east and west? So something's, this was working before, and so something's not up. Yeah, so there, we've got these two off. And so this should be intersecting, but for some reason is not. So see, these are bugs that now I can find and fix, because that's going to be important. Anyway, so I've got the tools now to implement the wedge colliders, which are currently not implemented. Like if you see, if I go back to the blue arrow, yes, when the blue arrow is showing, let me put these back so that we can see. Yeah, so the blue arrow is the normal, and that's the tip of the normal. I got a little X there. And this is the actual intersection point, that light blue. And then you can see there's a little red ray, and that's the penetration. That's showing us sort of how far it's penetrated into that cube. And you know, I'm not going to take the time to position it over here. I'm going to just flip back over to the rays. And also, so the way the rays work is I can sort of hit mouse capture, and so now it's basically capturing anywhere the mouse is hitting, and you can see, like, and then I can hit the space bar and it'll capture that. And you can see, like, right now we're not doing proper wedge collisions. It's finding its collision right there on the box, and so that's my next thing to implement, is to get the wedge collisions working. And that's a nice segue into what I want to deal with this evening, or this afternoon. So if we go in to run the regular code, and I promised somebody I'd give him a few tips on how to position objects in the current code. So the object positioning is a little tedious at the moment. Old Mythruna used to have some, you know, grid snap menu items, but I think I'm going to do something different this time. But what we need to get working first is that when you're dragging objects, currently it's not paying attention to the actual collision shapes. So if a block has something in it, it won't let you drag into that. In fact, I had to make special exclusions for flora and stuff. Okay, so let's turn up the, let's make it daytime so we can all see. Okay, and by the way, I love this town. It's just, it's a great town. I don't think it's like the perfect coastal town. You know, you can imagine that maybe there's some, maybe there's no river right now, but maybe there's some trade, and that's why this town grew up here, but like they have not explored the wilderness at all. Although if you go up, you know, up here, that's where the spawn tower is. So you can imagine this grew here because of, you know, some need for trade. But I like that it's like right bordering the wilderness, and you've got this big open field kind of up on the hill in the middle of the town, which maybe this is where the, you know, the manor house or government buildings are going to be built someday. Anyway, it's easy to, I like it because it's easy to imagine stuff that's coming. Okay, so if we flip over to, well, first let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's make a half block. Was it low wedge? Low wedge, yeah. No, not low wedge. Slab down, that's what it is. So if I place this here, so that's like a half block. And this will be the best illustration of what I mean. So now if I go over here and select the object tool, it's interesting. I'm getting a lot of okay, so there's some debug stuff I need to go and remove at some point because that's overzealous. By the way, there was the other bug I found. When we were in the when we did the Halloween party. I placed some of the little Gafen down, and one of them got lonely and tried to come to us, and that sort of crashed physics, and we all fell through the world. I did solve that bug today. I figured out what was going wrong with that, and I need to make like a more deeper fix, but the actual bug that caused us to drop through physics is fixed. I need to make a bug that I need to fix the issue that a bug could cause physics to do that. But okay, so when we're dragging an object, you can see like I cannot drag into the top of this block. It won't let me because it still thinks that's a full cube, and so that's what I'm going to try to fix today. In fact, it's for whatever reason feels like it's not. Oh, it's being lit, but we're middle of the day, so there's no. Yeah, so over here. So we can't, drag down here, whereas I could drag down here. One of the things I want to add at some point is the ability to, see, it also only drags from the center. So I would like to have it actually be the collision shape of the thing and not just the center, because that's a little confusing sometimes. Actually, it might not even be the center. Yeah, so the other thing that makes this, it's not letting me drag into the grass either. That's interesting. So I can drag, yeah. Neat. So that's the other thing that makes it a little frustrating, is to avoid having objects shoot off into weird directions. I just made it stop dragging at all if the object is going to try to move more than half a meter, which means if I went like that, it's not going to move either because I went too quick. At any rate, so before I get too far, let me quickly give you some tips on positioning objects, because somebody was talking about it was difficult. So for one thing, if you're pulling it towards you, it will just slide along the ground. That can be very useful, because if you're trying to move side to side, sometimes you jump too far. So one trick, let me move over here. So one trick is if you need to move it like side to side, rather than grab it and try to move like this, is to move over to the side, because then you can grab it and drag down a little bit, and you can move it just a little bit. Or if you decide you moved it too far, you can come back over to the other side and just move it a little more. The other thing is, if you have it being dragged, if you roll the middle mouse wheel, it will rotate. Unfortunately, it rotates around the corner. That's another thing I'd like to try to fix today. And so you can get it straight, and then you can drag it a little towards you, drag it a little towards you. Because if you drag it side to side, it turns. And so if you've already got it in the perfect orientation, sometimes it's better to come at it from the side and just drag down. And so that can be one way to position exactly where you want. Now the problem is, like I was saying, this doesn't work for these guys, because no matter what you do, you cannot place it. So I had to do tricks when I was doing this in my party, room that I made for the thing where I was placing stuff on half blocks. I had to remove the half block, place it, and then move the object up, and then put the half block back. And so that was really annoying. So that's one of the reasons I want to try to fix this. Because the other thing is, if I had like something else here, so I make this solid, because we're not really, see, I think this is already solid. Yeah, both of these are solid. See, it lets me push this right in, even though that's solid. And so in this mode where we're trying to be physically constrained, it should try to stop me. That would be the ideal case, is it would try to stop me if I'm trying to drag into the table. Now I want to have a mode, because it's really useful to be able to put objects wherever you want them, even put the chair into the ground. And so I do want to have like a mode maybe where you hit control, and you could drag it and it would move wherever you want regardless of what's in the way. Kind of like this, right? I can move that wherever I want. But today we're going to focus on trying to get the collision version working. My neck is sore. Excuse me. So basically, whatever script is doing this, and I think this is a fix I can make and upload to the server, and it won't require client changes, but we'll see. Oh, and the other thing is, yeah, like I was saying, someday I want the ability that you right-click on the object and say, you know, move, like open a movement widget or something that would give you a little UI in the corner that would let you, you know, specifically move it up and down by, you know, a centimeter at a time and rotate it by specific angles in any direction. That'll be especially useful when these objects are physical, because right now, if this was physical, you can't even drag it. Like, it won't let you drag it. I think there's no way for me to move it, and other than bumping into it. Like, I don't have the ability to drag it, and I don't want to end up in a Skyrim position where, yeah, you can drag them, but you know, you end up destroying everything in the process, because wherever you drag it, it's like knocking things all around. I'd like to be able to precisely position stuff. Yeah, so if I make this an illusion again and try to drag it, yeah, so if I do that, it's immediately going to pop back to its own origin. So that's the other thing, is they don't remember their, yeah, so it gets confused. Oh, interesting. Why is it not, oh, it's in the grass, that's why. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a bunch of chairs, and they won't even let us move them into the grass. So that's another problem, is it doesn't know that these flora don't actually have colliders. Delete this one. You know, so I can walk through here because I'm using the actual physics engine. The player uses the actual physics engine. So I would like to modify these objects that when you're dragging them, they're in the best world, they're using the actual physics engine to decide if they're colliding with something. You know, that would greatly improve the ability to position stuff, even on, you know, when the slopes are there. You know, that all that would just start working. So let's talk about how that works. What happens is, when you select the object tool, we end up in this hand manipulator. And so, you know, and that's what's responsible for sending the different script events to the server. So we get this drag action that gets run on the object. That really allows the object to kind of control how it gets dragged. So we avatar position facing, and we drag, and so that calls, I believe it is the, so the object tool drag. Yeah, so right now it's the object tool that handles the drag. No, it's the, so these are all of the, oh yeah, it's just the hand manipulator. So it's going to be in the base code. The base object manipulator code. So when you have just no object selected, it's just your hand, you can still drag stuff around, and that's what this is doing. You know, so basically we get a scripted event on drag start that allows us to collect some stuff about it, like, are you even allowed to move it? You know, we can get some stuff. We could use this to grab the center, so that if we wanted to rotate around the center, we could do that. I think I'm already, so drag offset. There's some math involved with keeping track of where I clicked versus where I'm turning, so that I can try to move the object back to where the point I clicked on is where the new mouse cursor is, that kind of thing. And here is where, during drag, is where we predict where we want to drag it. Yeah, so here's right here, fix me. See, I leave these love notes for future me, or past me leaves these love notes for present me, if you want to look at it that way. saying, yeah, we did this the dumb way. Yeah, so basically we're just saying, at the base of this object, is there a cell there? If so, is there something in that cell, then don't let it go. So we want to replace this with a physics query. And how best to do that? Or if not to do that, then at least use array query. But the thing is about the physics query is it could automatically handle, well, I think the reason that the physics engine ignores flora and fire and lets me walk through them is because I've specifically filtered those out of the contact listener. So if I gloss over something that you guys would like me to jump into in more detail, let me know. I try not to go off, I mean I do all the time go off on tangents, but suffice to say the physics engine runs all the objects, to see if they collide with the world, and that generates contacts, and then it decides what to do with those contacts, whether to resolve the object or whatever, but you can add filters to that to tell it to disable certain contacts. And I believe that either in the world manager or somewhere we add a contact handler. Yes, there is definitely an entity component system. Absolutely. Mythruna is based on Zeus, which actually is, I wrote an entity component system for Mythruna, and then I turned that into the open source package Zeus, which now new Mythruna is based on. So it comes full circle. But that doesn't really have to do with the physics part. But yes, every object, every game object in Mythruna is an entity, and it uses an entity component system. Super flexible, easy to write new systems without affecting old systems, etc. Maybe it's in the server that I set this up. Context system. Context system. So, yes, I think I made a special system to do this. We're going to care about this in a minute, so I wanted to. Is it in here? Yep. Okay. Yeah, so here is where, so context system, so one of my open source libraries called silicon dioxide, SiO2, has a bunch of base sort of game related stuff, and one of the things it has is this game system manager where you can register game systems, which are kind of like small little service objects. They have like a lifecycle start and terminate and run and so on. This one, what it does is when this system starts up, it creates a set of blocks that should be ignored. Basically all the magic, lights, fire, and flora. And then it registers, so during initialize, it registers a contact dispatcher with the physics engine, basically replaces its normal contact handler with its own that checks to see if it should ignore these contacts and sets them to disable if so. So this is how different objects are filtered out, which is why the physics system is fine and lets me walk through grass and stuff. But this won't help us with the objects, because if we're doing special contact queries with the physics engine, we will still have to do this sort of elimination ourselves, which is something that points to that I should centralize this code a little differently, or find a better way to mark block types that are not physical, like maybe build it into the block type class itself, which would help anybody who's using the MOS libraries. By the way, somebody hit me up on Patreon asking for access to the MOS open source libraries, the pre-release stuff that I work on, that's the base underneath which Mythruna runs. And that offer is still open if you guys are patrons. shoot me your GitHub information. I'll add you as a collaborator, and you can check out that stuff and look at it. That's not the Mythruna game itself, but it's all of the underlying stuff that renders the blocks and has the physics engine and all that other stuff. All the code that Mythruna uses to do its thing. Okay, so that's the long story to talk about how that doesn't help us, but that will explain why our options are limited here. And so I think I'm kind of want to start with the simplest way, because we might get that done today. So if we go back over to base objects, so here I think instead of making a just world query, hey, is there a type here, we do want to ask the physics engine at least array query down from the center of the object. But what I want to see, I want to check to see if, are we querying at the center of the object? So see, when we start the drag, we grab up all of the cells, so we get that, the cell array, which is, big cube. We get the size, and we set our offset to be, the middle. So xz is the middle, and then y is also the middle. Oh no. So, oh, I see. I tuck this value away because I'm going to ignore y later. But I might want to know the height of the object in world space. So I tuck that in here, since I already bothered to grab, cells is like the 3D array that contains like the chair, tightened up around the chair. And so cells.size, is like 3 of the, the object blocks, which means this will be 1.5. And anyway, if you were in the blueprint editor, how many those little grid cells the chair takes up. And so I store the height of the object in here basically for later. And so then down in here where we get the drag offset, we can use that to so we set the local offset to 0 and rotate it to be rotated with the object, and then we add that to our we want the center to be sort of that maybe I can pull up, does my whiteboard still work? Yeah. Is it still working though? So yeah, so it is. So if you imagine that the chair, is in this cube like this, I need a graphics program that can let me draw little 3D cubes without having to do this. So the chair is in this little 3D cube. We position it by this lower corner. The world, the Mythruna game engine positions it by this lower corner. Physics engine wants to know where, the physics engine actually cares about the center, and we actually position it, intersect with the world based on this center of the bottom, side. So it's like basically the XZ offset by half of the size of this, and we keep track of where the top is because maybe we need to know that later, but we position the object here. That's kind of what we're doing with this. And so by the time we get down here, the center is the world position of the center of this object, no matter what its rotation is, because we rotated it we moved that offset based on our rotation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then we get, if the center is already in a block, then don't let the movement happen, or at least try a higher pick offset. Give us a little more space. Yeah, so we don't want to do that. Although it's so this is we have code later that prevents this from doing anything anyway. So basically, we take where does y offset come from? So that is the height of our object that I tucked away up in here. And what are we using that for? Give us a little more space. That doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, because we do shoot a ray into the ground. So why aren't we using that? Why aren't we using that? This isn't right. Basically, we want to query the physics engine. Activator pick. Is pick doing? So now we have to look in the Java code, because that's where the activator is. It is a part of the server's game hosted session activator pick. So we actually do array collision into the physics system, collision system. So we say here, we click down, 10 meters to find out where we hit. Or no, 1 meter. We click down 1 meter below the center of that object. And, from the top down. So we hope the object is smaller than a meter already. That's weird. Okay. And if we contact, and actually if this object was solid, we'd contact the object. So that's bad. And if we do contact something, okay, I see. We move the center up. But I don't think this code is working. Because then we try to get the type of the object. So this is busted here anyway. Because we're already doing this. What this code is doing is it's shooting a ray down, down from the top of the object into the world, into the actual physics engine, and seeing what we collide with. And so if we had that half block, we should have collided with the half block. And you get some collision point there. We should have been fine instead of colliding up at the top of the block. And so, yeah, if our current y is less than the hit, we move our y up to the hit. Center y. But loc y is less than hit. Loc is... Oh, I see. Loc is our corner. Yeah, okay. And so that's the hit y. Okay. So this should have been enough to prevent us from moving into things. We shouldn't have even needed this code. And then down here's what I was talking about, the move limit. If we've moved more than by half a meter. So if we move more than half a meter in a frame, I just cancel the movement. I don't actually let the drag happen. Oh, and we do let the object do its own dragging by calling move. So let me take this out and see if this improves things and what we let in. You know, sometimes it's worth experimenting. So hey, if there's really 5 viewers on, hey, glad you could join me on Sunday afternoon. If you're new to the channel, welcome, etc. Let's go to our little hilltop experimental zone. Really in the mood to write some more music for the game. Maybe we'll do that as a live stream one of these days. If anybody's interested in watching me write some music, let me know. So I need some more music for my videos too. I'm tired of playing like the same 5 or 6 songs. Okay, let's lighten it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so yeah, get a lot of logging for stuff that's not doing anything. I might need to remove that. So you can see these active. This shit tipping away. It's just doing it really slowly. Okay, so we can drag the thing. It still hits the ground. That's what it's supposed to do. And look at that. Now I can do this. So basically, yeah, so that's normal because we're not doing real physics queries. We're just doing from the center of the object. This is so much better. Okay, but now we're dragging into Flora. We can't drag into the Flora. That's the problem. But that's so much better. That is, I don't know if we created any problems or if I was just doing double work. But see, this is like considered a whole block right now. That's what I'm fixing at the moment. So that table's still solid. So it must only be doing, yeah, it's only doing block collisions. I'm okay with that for now because maybe we want to do this. So it's not a lie that, so that's so much better. And then, so now I can even, I want the rotate to work around the middle of the object though. So maybe we can fix that too. So see, I can drag this down a little bit and it's not centered, you know, so I can come over here and I can drag down a little bit like this, and that's still not centered front to back, so I can, okay, that's better. Come back over here. But again, old Mythruna had like you could right click and you could say snap to grid and it would put it right in the center of that block and it would have been fine. All right, so we got one more thing working. I think this is a, yeah, it's an illusion. Whereas this is a solid chair. Okay, so that's working, and I will leave a comment for myself because we still want to do physics queries, but not in this live stream. The above code seems unnecessary and causes us not to be able to drag into half blocks, etc. We still need a real physics query to handle object to object collisions and so on, or even just proper object to world queries. But in the meantime, this probably goes away when we are doing real physics contact queries. Thing I worry about doing real, well, anyway, it's just it opens up a can of worms. There's a little bit of predictability here that I like, but we need to check the contact. We want to ignore certain types. Ignored block types. Let me real quickly, rather than look up the code, let us see what these hits actually are. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier just to run the code and see. Because I'm not exactly sure where to look in the source code, and there's always the potential that I'd still get it wrong. Whereas this will be ground truth. Alright, so... okay, so wait till all the logging finishes. Okay. Okay, so we're getting contacts, intersection. Okay, that's good. I can see what the fields of the object are. We can see intersection block is one of them, and that's the actual location of the block. Hit type 196. So we're getting the raw integers of the block types. That's what I needed to know. So here we want to go block type index types each, I think. No, we want to go for int I equals 0, blocks array equals block type index get types. It's just going to be slightly faster if we do it this way. Oh. Okay, I'm early optimizing. Okay, 0 block I is less than blocks array length I plus plus. See, the thing is I need to know what the index is. Okay, so block type equals, oh yeah, blocks array sub I, if type equals null, because we do have nulls in the list. Continue, and then so we can steal what we're doing, not in game system, context system here. So right here, only in the Groovy script, this can actually be a little shorter. So we can say type, actually we could have done, yeah, it's okay. Type dot name dot base. It's all about that base. Okay. And or we can just say base. That and this code is compatible. I don't have to edit it. And so then we would say ignored block types, add I. Oops. Yeah, so when you don't have an editor that auto formats for you, you learn little tricks to do it faster. Okay, so we'll ignore all of these types later. That's going to cause problems for me because it's 2 places to update, but that's all right. So ignored block types. If we want to say while hits has next, hit contact blah blah blah, if ignored block types contains, what do we call it, contact dot type, We skip it. Oops. Skip it. Otherwise, we do our thing. Let's put this up here. Nah, this is fine. For now. Let's do this, and then this, and we'll see both that way. Okay, so there we go. And so if the hit is blah 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 blah, then break. Basically, we hit something. We hit something, so break. Okay. Otherwise, we'll go through all the contacts just to check them. Okay, that looks good to me. Let's see if I have a compiler. And hopefully we'll be able to drag blocks into lights and or drag objects into lights and grass and things, fire. Which is useful because that's the other thing is when I was trying to place my campfire logs, I had to remove the flame blocks in order to do it because they were intersecting with the flame blocks. So I should be able to, let's see. Okay, good. We've already got some light. Bump it up a little bit and pause the time. Okay, so I should be able to drag this guy into the grass now. Yep, look at that. Okay, so that's working. You know, I can pop him up on there. Yay, that's working. So let's place some other blocks just to do some testing, and this is where I'll show you what I was talking about. So let's select a flame block. Fire, 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 fire. Okay, select. Okay, so we've got flames over here. One other thing we'll do is the magic light. Let's do magic blue, why not? Okay, so we've got blue light over here, which is not doing much for us. It's the daytime. Let's equip our object tool. Now I should be able to set the chair on fire by, yeah, so now I can drag the chair right into the fire. It's kind of cool. Doesn't look great, but it's cool. I can drag the chair into the blue light because blue lights are supposed to be, magic lights are supposed to be non-collidable. Okay, so that is tremendously better. What did you do this in Java? That's impressive. I've never seen anything this good made in Java. Also has Groovy. The reason I made it in Java is because I'm a Java programmer. I think in Java. And since this was a project in my free time, I was going to use Java. I'm a professional Java developer, have been since 1995 or so, so I have a lot of experience in Java. I've done some real hardcore Java development. Groovy is nice. I like it a lot for the high-level stuff. You can make, like in Groovy, you can do, like with a little Java wiring, you can make Groovy behave like a really nice game scripting engine. You get like all the kinds of operator overloading you'd expect. You know, so if you have a vector, you know, you can do, you know, where in Java you might have to say, you know, vector mult, you know, 5 or whatever. You can, you know, if it's a like vector 3, you know, 3 XYZ. Whereas here you can just say times 3 because I have it wired that way, or you can say, you know, divided by 3. There's different things. So Groovy is really nice for the you know, game logic portion. Plus I can create like things that feel like DSLs to create runtime types. So here I'm creating, you know, the object manipulator type, and you know, so that's the, you know, the base for the object wand and the hand and thing. And so you can see over here, if I go to, you know, containers, here's where I'm creating the backpack, and I give it all the behaviors it needs, and all this is just done in Groovy scripting at runtime. It's super convenient. But so basically we fixed the problem that I set out to fix. We can, yeah, neat. I don't think I have any. Yeah, I don't know. This default elf character. Oh, look, I've got those. I got their thigh high boots. I was trying to make some different types of clothing, so I gave her some, thigh high boots. I need the rest of her outfit, but anyway, those were kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just about breaking it down. I've worked on, uh, both C++ and Java projects that were a million lines of code. I find Java much easier to maintain in that light. Mythruna I don't think is anywhere near a million lines of code. But the other thing is Mythruna actually right now is based on the Moss open source library. So when the blocks, how the block world is done, the paging, the far terrain generation, not the specific algorithms that generate Mythruna's terrain, but the fact that you can have a fractal and it'll generate this really far terrain. All that is in some open source libraries that just have not been released yet because I don't have the time to maintain them publicly. So they're available early access to patrons, but I've organized the project as a bunch of sort of open source packages. That's the Moss libraries, even the Shaper tool, all that stuff. So these are the Moss libraries. We've got the action framework, which allows calling object actions and developing those runtime types and hooking that up to Groovy. Actually, I don't think it has the Groovy hookups, but the sort of runtime type, runtime actions associated with objects, object hierarchies, superclasses and things for game objects, game logic objects. We've got what is BPOS? Oh yeah, that's the body position tweening for network runtime stuff. Anyway, you got all these things that Mythruna is based on. The MBlock is where all the block library stuff. The MBlock physics B, that's where the physics stuff is. The MPhys is the distributed physics engine, because in Mythruna I have to simulate physics across a whole infinite world, and so it's based on zones, and it keeps track of which zones are active, and so on and so forth. Anyway, all those are open source stuff, and so it's difficult to say how many lines of code everything is, but organizing this as a bunch of open source projects is the only thing that has kept me sane, because back 10 years ago, that version of Mythruna, the code base was getting unwieldy and I couldn't move around in it, because every time I moved I had to go relearn entire sections, and it was finding those sections was difficult. And now everything's all based on these little more bite-sized open source packages that often have their own test apps or their own ways to test them individually. And I was able to then use these to make tools. So there's the block editor, which lets me make objects outside of the game. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I grabbed this because I'm an idiot. All right, so let's see. I'm curious. This is going to take a long time because it's going to traverse all my worlds and stuff. But yeah, so that just seems small. 52,000 lines. 52,000 lines of code in all this, which includes the tools and the sample apps. I guess that's right. So that's not too bad. The other thing is I've been doing this a long time, so organizing code into smaller modules and stuff is something that I guess you develop as an instinct over time with some experience. And so I think that way. I think in libraries. That's why I've been able to and because I do that, I'm able to navigate my own code better, because it's got a minimum amount of documentation to just try to keep me sane. And again, modules are small. So sometimes I just spend the most amount of time trying to figure out where something needs to live. But yeah, so I don't know if this query will finish in our live stream time, because underneath my code directories here for Mythruna, I have a lot of worlds that I've created, and the big worlds have a lot of files in them. I don't know if any of you've ever explored sort of the worlds. And by the way, this might be a good time to remind everybody that up in the upper left corner here, there's a link to download the latest engine, which was released sort of the beginning of the month. Yeah, right here. I can't see it on my screen, so I have to tell you guys. And there's a when you get in there, you can connect to the shared server and find places in the world to build and join us in there. It's not a whole lot of activity yet, but that'll ramp up. So I don't know how long this is going to take, but there's going to be considerably less code, I think, in Mythruna than there is in the open source stuff. Oh, here we go. I am wrong. So Mythruna, actually, that's pretty cool. Mythruna has actually more code in it now than the open source stuff. I'm going to refactor the code later on. The code is being I don't know if that's true. The Moss libraries are essentially ready to be released, except for they need documentation. They need to be stabilized. Some of these things, like the mblock library, I hardly touch. mphys I hardly touch. Many of these I hardly touch anymore because they're basically stable. They need some documentation and they can get released. Some of them I spend a lot of time tweaking. And so they're not really ready to go, but they're available early access, and there's at least one person I know that's built a game on top of some of the Moss stuff. Moss stands for Mythruna Open Source Software. But no, I don't plan to. There's not going to be any major refactorings. I stubbed some things in for the time being, like the character creation. I had hard-coded Fade, the old Mythruna girl, as the main character for the longest time, and then last month before Halloween, yes, eventually yes, putting a chair in a fire would burn it up. So then I had to go back for Halloween because I wanted everybody to be able to make different races and stuff. I had to go back and sort of refactor how character creation was done. That kind of thing is, I stub things in simply and then have to go back and unhard code them and build in, the different things. And this will expand too, because right now, you can't control much about your appearance. You can't control your stats or your backstory or any of that stuff that'll get added later. But I try to build these sort of hooks in to easily add it later. So later on, even if you've already got a character created, if you select that one, it might, instead of just taking you to your character summary and go play, it might take you back to one of the edit screens to go and add the the other things you need and so on. So let me go in as, where's Fade? Oh yes, these need to be alphabetized. So this is my human female. I don't think she's got the Spider Girl costume. I don't remember. Spider Gwen. So that's the other thing is, adding clothing. That was something I did later, but I didn't really have to refactor the engine to get that support. It worked because I had sort of designed it in. Oh, she's not wearing their. Probably import it. Let's see. Where's my Spider Gwen? Spider Gwen. Yeah, so there's the Spider Gwen costume. So I could actually come over here and, oops, save. Spider. Oops, capital. Oop. All right, so save the clothing. Come back over here, and I can find it. Spider Gwen. Where? Okay, so now now Fate's dressed as Spider Gwen. Though she needs blonde hair then. There we go. That's good enough. anyway, so adding clothing and stuff, I didn't have to refactor the whole engine. It was sort of already designed for that being plugged in. Which games influenced Mythruna? I'm guessing I have never actually played RuneScape, but I know of its existence. I'm way more influenced by games like Neverwinter Nights and Skyrim, of course. Like I used to joke that if Daggerfall and Block Worlds had a baby, that's what Mythruna is supposed to be. Sort of generated RPGs. I wanted an RPG that I could play because I didn't know what necessarily to expect. And we'll see how close I get to that. But in the meantime, it creates this cool thing where eventually we could have some dungeon master tools where you could run campaigns. If you already know there's a world with some cool towns, you could set up a story for you and your buddies to run through, and you could be the dungeon master. Or you just play the random world, go defeat monsters, explore the dungeons, all of which is coming. Next immediate steps are, instead of just the blueprint editor, this would be where you could make some parts, but then you would go into a sort of workbench where you could assemble them together into items you can carry around. So you could match a sword hilt up with a sword blade and stuff like that, and designate where the handle is. You could build a chest container that has a lid that can open and close and lock and so on. That's what I'm working on right now, but in order to do that I had to finish collision system, and so these things kind of chain together. But I would like by the new year to have sort of items done where you could create your own items that you can carry around in your inventory, instead of these pre-built ones that I've put in there, because these were just block objects I created in Blockhead. And so, I basically created this in Blockhead, and I in script said, here's where the handle is. And so when you equip it, it puts it in your, let's turn the brightness back up, or put back daytime. So when you equip it, it puts it in your hand. And so she's carrying that around in her hand. But that's because I said where the handle was and so on. So these are all things that are available to eventually to players. I just have to create the user interface for it. Same with the axe. I said the handle should be here, and so when it's in her hand, that's where she's carrying it. And so currently she can drag it around. That's probably not going to be the case in the end. I can't make this work nice. It's too annoying to use, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it work because it's kind of tricky to chop things that way. But yeah, I'm heavily influenced. I spent a lot of time developing mods and modules and things for Neverwinter Nights back in the day, so I'm heavily influenced by that. I've been playing role-playing games since the 80s. What was my first role-playing game? That would have been Ultima 3. Exodus Ultima 3. It's showing my age. Hey, look, there's the spawn tower up there in the distance. Alright, any other questions before I start wrapping up the live stream? I didn't really expect that to get that done, so that was kind of cool. So now we can let's make a Gafen. Twink. Hey, there's a little buddy. And so now, yeah, we can place chairs down, and so now I can actually set this on the steps. Ooh, look at that. I was actually born in the 70s. What is the location for the village? This village or the other one that I was in, the seaside village? Because on the map, okay, so I am here in town 2377. I think they're the same on the server. This is the spawn town. This is spawn tower here. So this is northeast of the spawn tower. It's marked on the map. And the other one I was at is the one that's kind of directly south of the spawn tower. So if you walk down that hill through the woods towards this water, you'll get this town here. And I think this town is really cool. Perhaps when there are rivers, it will actually connect to the ocean, which is down here. You can't see it, but there is one. But yeah, this is kind of cool. How would I get the coordinates to beam to them? Well, if you want to beam, you could just look up here. You can see if it's on the server. Again, this is the same world as the server, but I'm not on the server. So, I mean, you can copy my coordinates down up there. I think Fade has a lot of these marked, so I could look at the mark command. Nope, she doesn't. Oh yeah, I used, this is the Mythruna Monday. Huh. I didn't realize I used Fade for Mythruna Monday. I didn't. So yeah, got to finish up the Mythruna Monday video for tomorrow. As far as the coordinate system for the other one, so I'm already at town 2377. You know, sometimes you can guess. You know, add 1,000 for each of these blocks, subtract 1,000 in that direction. But that's this town is -8438 and -5670. And so you can actually warp to specific locations too. So if I warp to so 8436, but we're gonna subtract 2,000, so minus 10,438, and then warp to 2,000 south of -567 is going to be -3670. So if we warp there, we ought to be reasonably close to I did 2,000 down, 2,000 over, so I'm still like 1,000 blocks away from that town, but you can see it in the distance as the world loads in here. The world doesn't really like you jumping around by kilometers at a time, but it lets you do it. So we'll yeah, it also doesn't like you flying this fast. There's a farm over there, farm back there. Yeah, I started writing an adventuring music song earlier on the guitar, right before the live stream. See if I do anything with that, because I think the game needs some contextual music pretty soon. Gets a little silent just having the birds and stuff. So there's that town coming up. It's just a great town. It's got you know, of course it's got an airport. It's even like facing the open space here, so you can imagine the airship coming in and you could unload your cargo. Yeah, so there's where I was doing my object experiments here. And so if you look at this is minus 10,719 by minus 2,351. That's where this seaside town is. All right, I need to wrap it up here in a minute. Any other questions, comments? As I sort of shut it down, I think I got a lot done. I mean, really I wanted just to get something there because I'm improving the colliders, and then it'll need one more iteration to do the proper physics queries, but we're pretty close already. So, alrighty. Go ahead and exit that out. Bring back up this so I can say, I can bring up the thanks screen. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Comment on the video, give me ideas for future topics or whatever. Check out the Mythruna Monday videos. I'll be releasing a Mythruna Monday video tomorrow. Will be on the context menu and how to make objects physical and all that, how that works. Just a little 3-minute video. Thanks, Lando. And otherwise, I guess I'll see you guys on Friday, I hope. And see you guys then. Thanks for watching.